have extended the testing windows, but we want to thank you for everything you do, for the planning, the researching, the thinking, all of the time, I know on the weekends as well. Everything you put into your lessons is benefiting our students district-wide, so we thank you very much. And these assessments, these formative assessments, help us know what to reteach, how we can move on. So we thank you for being with us. We have over 100 participants right now. So we're going to get started with our fabulous Tech-TOSAs, who I'd also like to thank as well for putting on this great training. So back to you, Tech-TOSAs.
Thank you, boss. So I'm going to kick us off with talking about, first off, which is important to understand, the dates. Now, before I do that, I do want to point out to us that the bulk of what we're going to be covering and discussing today pertains to grades kinder all the way through 8th grade through middle school. However, there's just at the very beginning a short segment that pertains to high school. So if you joined us today and you're a high school, we just want to make sure you're aware of that so we don't feel like we're taking your time. We are going to mention the dates that are relevant to you as high school, but we want to point out that the best person to speak to would be your department chair. And so again, whether you're math or your high school English, that speaking to your department chair, they'll be able to provide you with the most accurate and updated information. We're here and we're welcome to share what we can, but we just know that the curriculum committees that meet with those department chairs for both those content areas are going to have the most accurate information. So I just want to make sure we point that out before we jump into it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can see what are our dates. Give me a moment. Be aware. And so for K through 8, the first window right around the corner, or now really if you want to look at that way, it starts November 9th and runs all the way to January 22nd. And one of the reasons I know that that time was actually extended was because of the fact, as Dr. Cunningham already mentioned, we as a district are aware that things take a little bit longer and that pacing isn't necessarily going to be the same as if you were in person face-to-face with your students. Having said that, one of the things I do want to say is that different sites may approach it differently. I know there's two sides and two stances. One of them might say, you know what, I want to be sure to administer the district interim prior to when we have our winter break, because there's going to be a loss of learning potentially, and or at least just a gap. And so it might be beneficial or behoove you to administer that prior to that window. And on the other side of the fence, we might have some people that say, well, I need more time to cover everything that I need to. So for that reason alone, I'm going to wait until we return from winter break in January to be able to administer. So that decision in terms of when, fully and completely up to either the site or the teacher. So I would definitely say speak to your site administrator and ensure that you have some type of an agreement so that there's consistency at the very least at your school site. You know, some teachers have asked questions with regards to, is there going to be a staggered window? Are we going to have, for example, math or ELA at different time periods? And the answer is no. So you have that entire time from November 9th all the way through January 22nd as our actual official window for District Interim 1 to administer both of those tests. And then you also have obviously ELD as well. So they have the assessment window that spans that time in terms of when you're going to actually administer. I would say that's the site decision, and that's something that went out with the FAQ. The other thing I want to point out as we talk about high school just a moment ago was the idea that there is high school and that might be slightly different. And so for high school, we have these two different areas. We have high school ELA and we have high school math. So if you fall under the realm of high school ELA, you are going to be administering through StudySync, and that date happens to run December 1st through August 17th. And these dates were shared with us, again, from the curriculum committees from high school. So I hope we're conveying the most accurate information, which is why I say, again, if you're high school, please be sure to speak with your department chair because they're going to have the most accurate information. The other thing is for math. For math, we're using the benchmark 1, August 10th through December 18th. So for the most part, the dates for ELA and math are fairly comparable, but they are going to be different in terms of how and where you administer. For ELA, as it mentions above, it's going to be through StudySync. Whereas if you're using math or you're teaching math, you're going to be administering through CASP. And so again, before I move on past high school, I just want to point out, please be sure to speak with your department chair for the most accurate information, because we did field some emails after we sent out the email on Friday saying, hey, what about for high school? Are we still administering an interim assessment or a benchmark? And the answer is yes. Here are the dates for those assessments. And those, as I mentioned, what would be where you would access those, but your department chair would have the most accurate information.
And Gabe, we put those documents on the chat for both math and ELA.
Oh, phenomenal. So if you're high school math or ELA, please be sure to take a look at those documents that Ricardo was kind enough to post there for us. Thank you. The last tidbit before I move on is want to make sure we talk about and we'll go back to K8 for a moment, is what you're going to be administering or where really. And that happens to be with regards to IO or formerly Interims, but really IO is going to be where we're going to access the bulk of our assessments. And I want to be sure, because I had some teachers ask, well, in the previous years of the testing grade levels, at least 3rd through 8th grade, last year we had used the IABs or CASP as our form of administering the benchmarks or the district interims. And the reason why it was determined from the district perspective not to use that this year is a couple of reasons, and I just want to point those out before I let Christina show us where you can find those. And the first reason is because of the fact that there are some requirements in terms of the web browser that students must use. And so it was kind of determined that it may not be equitable or accessible for all of our students. So because of that reason, and also because of some of the limitations or restrictions with regards to screen size, it was a safer bet to be able to say we're going to use IO as our means for administering the assessment, as opposed to the CAS IAB, for those two main reasons. Again, for the web browser limitations or restrictions, as well as the requirements with regards to screen size. So if you have more questions, let us know and we'll be sure to happy them to the best of our capability. But I want to make sure we address that first and foremost. And so I'm going to allow Christina to be able to take it where we talk about where you might be able to access all of these resources or assessments.
Awesome, thank you. So now that you know a little bit more background information about what that might look like as far as DIAs go, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. And are you guys able to see the Hacienda del Puente Schools district page? Perfect. So one of the first ways that you can actually find the DIAs is to go to our main HLP district website. If you'd like to follow along with me, I'll give you some time. If you might want to bookmark this as a way to find it. You go to the district tab up at the top, and from district, you're going to scroll all the way down to instructional division. I see some of you writing, so I'll hang on just a moment. So from the district website, click on district and then instructional division. And once you get there, you'll be able to see, if you scroll down on the right-hand side, you see websites and you'll see ELA and math. So if we wanted to find the ELA district interims, we would click on ELA. And then on the left-hand navigation bar there, you see DIA resources. So you would just go ahead and click there. And you're able to see all the ELA for 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. And then this is an older schedule there as well, but they're all listed there for you. And again, if I wanted to go back and I wanted to click on math, I could also do that as well. And then that would take me to my math page, and I would be able to click on DIA in Windows there and look for the assessments and assessment windows, okay? So that is our district website, navigating through that that way. I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat. We also have our tech page as well. And
I'm sorry, I don't see the assessment page when I went to the math. Can you go back? Sorry.
Sure, let me pull it up there. Math. We'll run through it again real quickly here. District, go down to instructional division. And on the math, on the left-hand side, the DIA and Windows. And there's scroll all the way down to the bottom, Kinder first. And then you'll notice that, you know, 2nd through 8th is going to be on the IO platform anyway, so there's not going to be anything for you to print out per se there. So thank you. So from our district website, that is one way. I'm posting in the chat as well. We have a bit.ly, an HLP Tech. Oops, that wasn't highlighted. Let me post it again. Let me go to the actual website for you. I am here in the Tech HLP. You can go ahead and access that page as well. And we also have our content websites through there. So it's an extra click. So if you were to click on curricular content sites, it's going to take you to a page that says ELA math. You're to click on ELA, and then it's just basically a redirect to that ELA page. So depending on how you'd like to access, we'd love for you to come see our tech page as well. So you can also go ahead and check that out. Okay, and it would be the same thing for math. It would take you directly to the math page. So those are the first two ways, from the district website or from the bit.ly HLP USD Tech. The third way is actually going to be directly in Canvas. Okay, so you can actually access our DIAs through Canvas. We actually have some information in Commons. So from your main Canvas dashboard, if you click on Commons on the left-hand global navigation bar, it'll take you to a place where you can actually search for a course that we have already prepared with all the DIAs in there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take off my filter. I have a templates filter, but I want to keep Hacienda La Puente filtered there as well. The course is called Curriculum, if I could spell it correctly, Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment. So it's this one right here. And that is a full course created, and we'll kind of walk you through it as we go. That has everything listed in modules that you might need there. So, you know, it is really a preference. Do you want to access it through the district website? Do you prefer to keep everything in Canvas and have all your things organized there? So that way you don't have to keep clicking back and forth. This is just another option for you. So we have it labeled by district interims grade K. We have it separated by ELA and math. And Gabriel so graciously color coded for us as well. So that would be, our kinder would be yellow. We have grade 1, first grade is in red. So we have ELA and math. And then you'll notice that for grades 2 through 8 for district interims, there's nothing really there for you to print out except for how to administer the DIA online with the IO quick reference guide. So that would definitely be something that would be, you'd want to pull into your Canvas. And then also a video tutorial for your students. So another helpful piece of information. And if you're looking for report cards, those are in here as well. So hopefully this is something that we plan on keeping updated for you. So if you do decide that you're going to pull some of this information in, you're going to want to make sure that you make sure that it's updated. Okay. So what I would suggest to do, and this is my personal preference as far as Canvas stuff goes, when you're pulling information from Canvas into a course, I would suggest creating kind of like a shell course so that you can pull all of that information into that course. Unfortunately, when you're in Commons, you cannot just download straight from Commons. So I couldn't download that PDF when I was in that Commons course. So you're gonna have to actually pull it into something that becomes yours, okay? So if you'd like to walk through this with me, feel free to. I'm just gonna start a new course. So I'm in my dashboard right now, and I have the option to start a new course, okay? And I'm just going to label this DIAs because I know that I'm going to pull everything in from DIAs into that course. Okay, and then we're going to click Create Course. And this is not the only way to do it. There are other ways. This just kind of keeps everything together in one specific course. So now it's empty, right? I want to import from Commons. So on the right-hand side over here, we had just showed you where you could find the information in Commons. So I'm going to click Import from Commons. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to go ahead and take off that filter again. And I'm going to search for that. Again, it's Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on it. So this is what I'm going to pull into that course. And on the right-hand side, you're just going to click Import or Download. Okay. Now it's going to ask you, which course do you want to pull this into? Well, I want to pull it into that course that I just created and I labeled it DIAs. So I'm going to search for that. And go ahead and check that box. And I can import into this course. So I'm going to click Import into this course. It's going to take just a second to fully transfer everything over to that new course that you created. So you'll see this green bar at the top that says that you started your import and it's going to be ready to go. Okay. And then when you go back into your dashboard, and I'm going to go back to that DIA course. Okay, and it is going to be an unpublished course. So if you don't see it at the top, then it's going to be down here. Okay, I haven't published it, so I don't want my students to see any of this, but I can go ahead and click on DIAs. And as you can see, even the front cover picture shows up. And I basically have that same exact thing that I took from Commons, and now it's in my dashboard and I can do whatever I want with it from there, right? So if you decided that for some reason you wanted to pull it into another one of your courses, okay, you can do that. You would just need to go to the course that you'd like to pull it into. And again, I mean, personally, I don't see why you, unless you'd want to do like the documents, right, that you want to share with your students that way. So you could pull it into another course. So for example, if I wanted to pull it into my super cool 4th grade class, I would click on that. And I already have the content, so I'm going to click import existing content. And this is going to allow me only to pull in what I want for my particular grade level, right? So the content here, I'm going to actually copy a Canvas course, right? Because I'm going to copy something and search for my course name. It's going to be DIA. Uh-oh. Oh, it's taking a second to pull it up. Okay. So now I'm probably going to have to type in my name because I'm an administrator and I see everyone's. So I see some of you have been doing it along with me or have created your own. So I might have to look up my personal name first. There we go. Here we go. So here's what I'm gonna import. Now, Tektosis, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm importing from my DIA course, right? Because I want to pull it in from there into my sandbox. So let me
Correct.
put my full name here, and then maybe it'll come up. But how come my DIA is not coming up? I'm importing it into my sandbox. Here we go. Select a specific content. I only want to pull in what I'm pulling in from, like, say, 3rd grade, or I only want those directions. So if I click import, it's going to give me a selection here. I'm going to select what I want to bring in. Okay. And then that's where you can actually just select only the K module, only the 1st grade module, and then bring it into your course. And then once you go back into your course, you will just have that piece of information. So you would click what you want here, you would select content, okay, and then you would go ahead and bring it into your course. Okay, so those are a few different ways to get the DIA information to you. Again, once you do have it in your course, then you're able to download and save the PDF. From Commons, you will not be able to do that. You have to make it yours first. So we're going to go ahead and move on. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. We have Gabe, who's going to continue and share some more information with you.
Thank you. Sorry, I was trying to respond to the question. So if you're on the question doc, I didn't finish my response, but I shall. One of the things that people are asking some questions that are grade level specific. And I do want to mention to you that after we kind of cover some of the stuff that works for everyone, we are going to have some self-selected breakout rooms. And in those self-selected breakout rooms, we're going to talk about stuff that pertains only to K1, stuff that pertains to only 2nd grade, stuff that pertains only to 3-5. So the relevant information, because we don't want to feel that while yes, some of this information is for everyone, we don't want to waste people's time with information that doesn't necessarily match with what you're teaching. So just want to make sure we say that. So what we're going to be talking about, what we're going to be talking about is looking at IO. And when we talk about IO, it's as a teacher, what are some of the things you're going to be able to do to find the assessments in IO? So let me go ahead and open up IO, and then I'll share my screen so that we're all in the same place. And if you're not familiar, you can access IO through Canvas. I'm going directly to the website, but you can access directly through Canvas as well. Oh, sorry, ClassLink, apologies. So I'm in, let me go ahead and share my screen. So once you're in here, I want to point out where you're going to be able to find it for the teachers. So a couple places. First off, if you have your screen in tiles, you're going to have potentially something that says administer online test. So if that's you, you can go in and click on that. But if you say to yourself, I'm looking and I don't have that tile available to me, you could always add a tile. But one of the things that might be more efficient is just to come over here where you see it, where I say testing. You click on the left-hand side where it says testing, and you find where it says administer online test. So again, if you don't have the tile that's purple, it looks like this on your screen, and you might not, then you could always come to the left-hand side where it says administer online tests. Now, what I'm about to show you is how you would administer an online test. Now, this happens to fit the bill for everyone that it fits under kindergarten through 8th grade. That said, if you are a kinder or 1st grade, and I mentioned to you, we're going to have some breakout rooms where we'll talk more specifics, but kinder and 1st grade for ELA, you're not going to find your assessments there. And I'll show you later where you would find that. But for the rest of us, or kindergarten through 8th grade, for everyone, including math, in ELA for 2nd grade and up, you would go to administer online tests. So I'm going to click on that. And once you're here, you're faced with a lot of different assessments, all of which are available in IO. We want to be able to filter. So when you see it say category, as a teacher, I'm going to go ahead and go to the very first one, which says district benchmarks. So again, I clicked administer online test. I go to district benchmarks. And right away, it filters everything out. So I'm only looking at the district benchmark tests. Now, if you wanted to filter even further, you could always take a look at your category content area. So what am I looking at? In this case, let's say, for example, it was ELA. And then for ELA, here are all of the available tests. So once you find, hey, that's my grade level, that's the test I'd like to administer. Let's say, for example, it was second grade. Okay, so I'm going to select this. And it gives me the option. Do I want to preview the test? So if as a teacher, if I didn't already know what it looked like, I can preview the test and I can see what it looked like. But I want to administer. So I'm going to click on this button. I'm going to click OK. And then it gives me an option here. It tells us how long will students be available to use this session ID. And if you're not familiar with IO, you're basically, most of us, by and large, I would think are, it's going to generate for us a identification number or a session ID. And students are going to be able to enter that to get access or to be able to enter into the assessment that you're starting for your students. So I'm going to say, for 30 minutes, meaning what? They have 30 minutes from the time I start the session ID, not to finish the test, but to at least get into the test. So if you're teaching maybe example middle school and you have multiple periods, you may put that for a shorter amount of time. Once you're ready to start it, this is how much time they can actually use that session ID to gain entrance in the test. Again, this is not to say how long they have to take the test, but to at least enter or to start the test. So I'm going to say, okay, I want 30 minutes, which is the default. I'm going to start the session. And it gives me here a code. And I'm going to give that code to my students. And when we do our selected breakout rooms, the various Tectoses might be able to share some of their strategies and also give you an opportunity to share how you might choose to use this with your students. But in my thought, you're going to want to obviously give this information to your students because they need this particular session ID to enter. So I'm going to go ahead, in this case, just copy this. And I'm going to, if I wanted to with my students, paste it. But I know, Ricardo, if you wouldn't mind writing that down, because in a moment, Ricardo is going to show us as a student how your students are going to be able to access this.
Right. So now we're going to see this from the student's point of view. So let's say that Gabriel is my teacher and he has, let me share the right screen, this one right here. And he has provided that test ID for me, okay? So now as a student, I want to go to ClassLink and I want to log into ClassLink. Once I'm logged into ClassLink, you will notice that our students have an IO icon that says IO students, okay? So theirs looks a little different. It says IO students. They're going to click on it. And when they click on it, it's going to take them into the portal for the IO assessment, okay? Now, this is very important. They are not gonna sign in with a username or password. The district has set this up using their Google account, okay? So if you notice all the way to the bottom, we have an option to log in with Google. Okay, so our students could click here for the option for Google. And then once they get here, this is very important. We have to make sure that they log in using their hlpnet.net Google account, right? So I'm going to go to use another user and I will type in my info here. Again, hlpnet.net, and I'm going to go next. And now my password. And for a lot of our kids, they might have trouble remembering what their password is, okay? So if you have that issue where they don't remember their password, what we recommend that they can do, just so you know, is that they actually can come to, just so you know, they can come back to ClassLink. And then in here, we have an O icon that used to enroll, we used to log them into Google Classroom. So if they click there, it's going to automatically sign them into Google Classroom using their HLPNet account. And just to show you that, we'll see that right now. For this particular student, it's going to log him in. So now that we know that that student is logged in with their hlpnet.net, now the student can come back to the IO icon. Again, click on it, go to Google, okay? And she's right here, hlpnet.net, because we clicked on that Google icon on ClassLink. Now they can click on it, and it's going to take them inside our IO environment to take that assessment, okay? So here she is, okay? So she has an option for homepage and for taking a test online. So she will just click on this right here, and it's taking a while. And it will ask, do you know a session ID for your test, right? This is the session ID that Gabriel provided for me when he set it up. So I'm just going to put that in. And I have the session ID and I'm going to say start. And now, because Gabriel has set this up already, I have the option now to begin the test from here. And this is how our students are going to do it. Again, via ClassLink, IO, use Google to sign in. And again, if they don't know their credentials, they can come back in here and open it using the Google Classroom icon and then going again back to IO to get into that test. Okay, thank you.
So there was a couple of questions that I'm just looking at the doc, and in a few moments, we're going to break apart into our various rooms to address specific concerns and information related to your specific grade levels. But one of the questions was asking with regards to middle school, and middle school are all available on IO. So kindergarten through 8th grade will be available through IO, as we just showcased as a teacher, how you're going to be able to access those. I had to double check because I saw the question. I'm like, maybe I'm mistaken. But I will say this, and I want to make sure we're all aware. Mike Mead, who is our assessment specialist, was unavailable to join us today. Although if you have questions that are very specific pertaining to assessment, I would encourage you to direct those questions to Michael Mead. He would be able to probably best assist with the most accurate information. We are all here and willing and capable of helping to the best of our ability. But I do want to point out that he would probably be your go-to resource, being that is what he is his specialty. Okay, so I believe, Ricardo, you had created various rooms for us. So we're going to go ahead and break off into those rooms. And then after some time, if we need more time, we might spend it. But by and large, about 15 minutes or so after we break off into those rooms, we'll come back here and address some of the Q&As that maybe you have at this point, or maybe you will have after you break off into those rooms if they're not already addressed. Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and open the breakout rooms. We have divided them K1, 2nd grade, 3 to 5, and 6 to 8. So you should be able to select your breakout room based on those grade levels. Here we go.
I'm trying to see who's here with me right now, or did they abandon me?
Everybody's coming back right now, Teresa.
Okay.
In about 8 seconds.
So sneaky. Okay. We have a lot of questions now, and we have about 8 minutes. So,
you know, I stayed in the high school main room, and I know I joined the 6-8 at the last second, and they had a lot of questions too. I'm sorry.
okay.
I was answering
Okay,
questions
sorry.
for high school.
Ricardo, that was awesome though that you popped in, and thank you, Rob. Hey, Teresa, we do have, Shannon, hi. We do have a series of like 5 questions, and they're really, you kind of need the answers prior to administering the test, just like if there's any specific recommendations and what to do when kids don't take it. Is there a way that, who would you recommend? Do I just leave them here? They'll be answered and shot out to us. Do I email them to Mike and CC Helene to you? Like, how can we, how do we
Shannon,
address
this is Dr. C. I just, in talking with, I was on the high school one, but what we're thinking is that we'll ask Mike Mead to host something else like this, whether it's on a Monday or, you know, and have 2 back-to-back or whatnot. So because there are those questions, but if you can email them to me and the Tech TOSAs, and then you can CC Mike, and we'll make sure that he can do that too and be able to show people. We did invite him, but he was working on iPad deployment today at one of our school sites. So I know he'll be more than happy to show everyone how to do that and to answer questions. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'll do that right now, guys. Thank you.
And thank you, Shannon, for putting them in the document as well, because I think that those questions, a lot of people had the same questions. So hopefully we could address that here as well. So Gabriel, I know we have about 6 minutes and we have several questions in the document. How you want to?
Sure, we can try to address those, but I'll be honest, we did not finish kinder and 1st grade. There are a lot of specific items related to those 2 grade levels. So I want to make sure if those teachers that joined us today, we can have a different meeting, and I can send you an email with a link. Or as you mentioned, Dr. Cunningham, Mike might be able to set something up, because I know that the window is open now and teachers have questions now. So I apologize for those of us that got pulled back. I know that you have more.
We weren't done either.
More things. But I'm not sure at this point, given that we have another group of people potentially joining us at 2 o'clock, how we might be able to include all the information. So I apologize. We will do our best to figure out what works best for everyone, and we can send an email out so that we can share that information specifically with you and whatever works best for all.
Dr. Cunningham, can you clarify for for first grade, is it true that we don't have to give the benchmark reading book?
The benchmark reading book?
Or the reading benchmark book?
The only thing that we have to do for the interims, which was agreed upon for district-wide, is just what's in our Canvas comments. So if you want to do additional, you can, if you want that as a formative assessment for your students personally, but you do not have to as part of the DIA.
The email you had previously sent us, I believe for first grade, only had the BPST and high frequency words. But in the Canvas, when we pulled up, it also includes the reading benchmark book, which I thought had been taken off from the email from you.
We took that off for the have-tos or must-dos, but some teachers really wanted to have it for their own benefit. So if you would like to include that, you can, but you do not have to.
Okay, so the benchmark book is optional for first grade.
Correct. It's not part of the DIA.
Okay, thank you.
So I can amend the document then, because as I saw it, I had it in there because it was my understanding that it was. So apologies for any misconceptions that I may have caused.
No, no worries. I think it's just because besides decreasing the number of DIAs, we have extended the window, and we also have taken off, like, for example, the writing assessment piece for grades 2 through 5 has completely been eliminated. Some teachers want to give it to help with the developmental stages of writing, but it is not for this year part of our official DIAs. So it has been changing as we go. Based on the feedback we've heard from teachers on how much longer instruction is taking. So we're trying to be very sensitive to the feedback we're getting from all of you.
Since we have 5 more minutes left, roughly, should we just go over some of the questions that are on the document, and I'll do our best to answer these. So let's see, I'll take a look. I'm not sure if you answered or any apologies before we popped in. First one asks, I'm trying to see. Will ELD assessment be administered through IO? The ELD assessments are on IO, and when you go to district benchmarks, they'll pull up there as well. So that was one of the questions. I do want you to know that there is a Canvas course in Commons as well for multilingual. So in case you're wanting more information in general about that, you could go there, but they are available in IO for ELD. Let's see. Can the students use HLP-USD if they don't have HLP-NET? I'm assuming that's talking about in regards to accessing IO. And so students would access, as Ricardo had shown, going through Google, which in this case for students is hlpnet.net. Let's see. Great question. With regards to IEPs and 504, that would be something that you might want to refer to Mike Mead. See what is the required time per test. My understanding, the assessments are not timed. So when I was speaking about with regards to the time limit, that would be a time limit for the actual session ID to be live and accessible. But there is, to my understanding, not a time limit on any of the district interims. Do we begin the test in class? I would imagine, and we didn't have an opportunity in my group to talk about how you might best practice choose to administer, but I would imagine that you would probably do it either through one of the live sessions or, depending upon the grade level, potentially in a small group setting. We have fine solely with the teacher. Do we have to finish solely with the teacher or independently? The question is, do you need to admit? So this goes back to administration. Are students capable and able to take the test without your supervision? I would probably say that's not in the best interest, because while yes, there are various forms where we could talk about the validity of the test, I would imagine if they did it on their own, that would only further increase the likelihood that it may not be a more accurate representation of where their thinking is. Get there. Will the answers saved from a previous session? Yes, students can take an assessment and save their progress. The only issue is, and I'm not sure if anyone else on the team might be able to speak to, how do they re-enter that same assessment, because they did need a session ID to enter it. Does anyone else on the team know?
You will need to just create a new testing ID, and it remembers where they left off because they're going in with their account.
Thank you. Do students log into IO using lunch numbers? Again, students to enter IO are going to use the Google, like we talked about. And there is a video as well on the HLP USD links. There's a video in the HLP Commons course in Canvas. There is in the HLP YouTube page, there's tons of resources there. I have about 1 more minute. I'm doing my best to answer as many as I can. In the breakout rooms, it was said that Connect Ed. So I could be mistaken, but it's my understanding that the assessment is in IO. Again, Canvas does have a course for multilingual for ELD, and you can see specifically what their directions would be there. Does first grade administer the Math DI through IO? Yes. So again, all of the assessments from kinder through 8th grade are accessible to administer online from kindergarten through 8th grade for math and for ELA, with the exception of kinder and first. Kinder and first are the only 2 grade levels for ELA that you cannot administer online, that you would have to use the input edit responses. But yes, for first grade math and kindergarten math, you are able to administer an online test in IO. Anything I missed? I didn't have time to type all those answers. By the way, I'm just doing my best to read into anything else.
I was trying to type in as you were talking, so
Thank you.
I got a few.
It was rapid fire. I was doing my best
Did
to
you
keep.
say something about the lunch numbers? Sorry, you were going really quick. Did you say they could use their lunch numbers? If
So again, Ricardo had showed us that you do not use your lunch number to enter into IO. It's available through class link. Student clicks on it and they use Google.
Yeah,
Ricardo,
they're just asking if it works. The question is,
It doesn't work. We have to
doesn't
set
work
it up
anymore,
in
right?
a different way for kids to be able to take the test outside of the HLP USD network. The way IO was set up, it wouldn't let them. So we had to set it up with the Google credentials.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for asking, and thank you the rest of the team for doing our best to try and catch up with the chat and as well with answer document. So we'll probably send an email out to the rest of us that were here who maybe needed more time with our respective grade levels, because we do have another group that's joining us now.
Did we do the feedback form?
We did not do a feedback form.
Gabriel, can we, I wrote it in, but can we lessen the test questions since there's so many for math and we have like 26 kids that we have to test one-on-one?
I can ask, but I don't foresee there being any changes at this point for DIA number 1, but I can ask.
There's so many. You don't know how long that's going to take, especially for our low ones. 20 questions is going to take a long time.
Thank you for your feedback. Like I said, I can't at the moment just make a call to say that we're going to reduce the questions. I hope you understand that.
Yeah, we'll look into it. It may be something we could look at for second, only because, if some people have already started testing. So we'll have to get back to everyone on that, Gabe. Are we still in our 1 to 2 o'clock?
It is now 2:03.
Right?
Dr. C, I'm so sorry. I'm not even sure who told me to send it to, so I sent it to you. I CC'd the tech hostess and Mike Mead. Did I do that wrong?
No, you
You're
are
perfect.
right. You are right on. Thank you, Shannon.
Okay, so I'm for Newton, I'm just going to suggest that we hold off. To the team. Of course, it's a team decision, but I'm just going to suggest we hold off until we get some of the answers, because questions that are really important are about do we keep the test open? It would be great for us to have it during the class period, but that is 1 hour from front to start, and it's 2 passages, 8 questions each. The majority of our kids won't. They're going to annotate it. I mean, if they take it seriously.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, do we open it on, like, say, Tuesday and keep it open until Thursday afternoon, give them 2 class periods and the time in between? Is that okay? Do we do async on Monday? So I threw out a bunch of what ifs.
Okay, and we'll get back to everybody on that. At this time, Teresa, I think we better start with the 2 to 3, and everyone can feel free to stay on if you want to again, and maybe some different questions will come up. It's also all being recorded, and we'll have another session on this too. Hopefully